In this video, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why I think you should be excited for the Amazon Game Studios New World MMO coming out on August 30th, 2021. Let's go. So the first reason to be excited is the class system, or more precisely, the lack of a class system. Now, I just made a very quick basic overview of what makes up your class, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But basically, there are no official classes. You just make a character, and that character's gameplay will depend on your weapon choices, your attributes, and your armor. Your weapon choices is probably the most important thing there. A two-handed axe obviously plays differently from a fire staff. You can respec and change all of this without re-rolling your character. And the interesting thing here is that this will basically enable class build versatility. Yes, you can build a classic tank or a mage, but there's some really creative people out there who are going to be combining weapon choices in incredible ways. I think I watched a video of a pure sniper build, which was somebody who put all of their points into the musket and was just sniping people in PvP. People way smarter than myself will do some very cool things, and I think this classless system, this freedom to mix and match with like armor and attributes and weapons, will be a really big strength for the game. The second reason to be excited is action combat. Lots of MMOs are adopting a more hybrid style where they combine tab targeting and action combat. I personally have never enjoyed that kind of system, and I'm a little bit tired of the tab targeting combat of something like World of Warcraft. Action combat in an MMO, I think, is perhaps a little bit difficult to get the feel right, and if New World managed to get this right, even though they have changed it a bit over time, then I think this could be another big strength of the game, having an MMO with proper action combat. Yeah, it won't be quite like Dark Souls, but something like a Dark Souls Lite, I think could actually be super fun and super rewarding and gratifying. The next reason is player housing. New World will feature a relatively robust player housing system, which will see you being able to buy from a pre-selected list of houses. These, I think, give you travel options, and you can fit them out with items that will give you buffs to certain things. Personally, player housing is not something I think I'll be messing with too much. Yes, I'll probably try and get the buffs, but I'll just be doing it as quickly as possible. But I appreciate for some players, people love decorating their houses, etc. And interestingly, in New World, there's actually a profession dedicated to actually making things that people can use to decorate their homes. So that's really going to enable people to customize their houses in specific ways and give some player interaction, because maybe player X can build something that you want and you can maybe give them something in return. Really interesting. And that leads me on to the next one, which is interesting professions. New World features quite a robust set of crafting professions. They obviously have the classic range of choices like mining and skinning, but they also have some more interesting things like woodworking, tanning, etc. You can generally break these professions into certain categories: gathering, refining, and crafting. For me, New World seems to have every profession that you'd actually hope to be in a game. And while this is getting a bit more common in games now, if the balance is so that the created items can actually compete with the best drops, which is what New World developers say they are hoping for, then I think having this wide selection of professions could be a really great, fun, integral part of the game. Now, the next reason to be excited may be mildly controversial for some people, but no damage meters. Now, this one actually isn't a certainty. We haven't been told that much about add-ons like a DPS meter or even user interface add-ons, but I personally like the idea of no DPS meters. Not just because I am bad, which inevitably I will be, but also I think it will possibly mean a longer time to find the best meta. Yes, obviously some people will do tests, killing mobs, etc. to find the best DPS builds, but if you add in CC abilities mattering and the fact that you can't get that DPS information, then we might be burdened a little bit by what the best meta is. Now, I have no problem with players trying to find out what's best. I completely understand and respect that. But when it means that certain builds are auto-excluded or shunned, it can feel less fun for the game overall and add a little bit of toxicity. This might lessen that issue. But keep in mind that they could very easily just add an add-on and at this point be completely moot. I think no damage meter, combined with the fact that there's basically personal loot, so if you're in a group with people and you kill a boss, well, you either get the loot or you don't. So I think this will really help create a less toxic environment for the game, but we'll have to wait and see. The next one is PvP sieges. Now, without explaining all of the PvP mechanics, I really like the fact that the big wars, which are 50 versus 50, are done at a specific time rather than just being contestable 24/7. I feel like this is a very strong point for the more casual players. In games where everything can be taken at any time, you end up with a real life burden, as basically people will try and take things in the middle of the night. Therefore, do you have to stay up in the middle of the night? Do you have to wake up with your guild to join in? It can all get a little bit annoying. It's a little bit much. In New World, the big wars are scheduled and you can either sign up or not sign up if you can attend. I think this should make the game more player friendly. And while the sieges are 50 versus 50, that's not all of the PvP options. There are battlegrounds and there are going to be forts that are contestable most of the time. They're not contestable always, but I think they will be contestable in the middle of the night if you really want to be that sneaky group of people, you know, getting in there at 3 AM. But they have a lot less of an impact than the war. And the last reason is that the game is not going to be pay to win. Now, don't worry, I can already hear the chorus of people telling me that I am wrong, and in reality, let's face it, you might be right. I probably am wrong. For those of you who don't know, Amazon Game Studios said all along that the game would not be pay to win. But in an alpha patch notes, which was under NDA, they were found to be testing things like XP boosters, fast travel points, and so on. And depending on how they are implemented, some of those will definitely feel a bit pay to win for sure. But they have said that that's not going to be available at launch, and during an interview they implied that it actually might be a couple of years away. And really it depends on how this is all implemented. An XP boost isn't necessarily pay to win, but fast travel points definitely could be. We really need to see how this is implemented. Yes, a lot of people do not like XP boosts, but quite frankly they exist in almost every other MMO game out there that has got a big population. But if it's introduced quite a bit later after the game has come out, and maybe they're not usable in future content, they're only usable for content that's come out, it's a little bit harder to say it's pay to win, even if it's not ideal. But definitely things like fast travel could be. I'm just saying here, we need to wait and see. At launch, these aren't going to be in the game, but if this is a concern to you, then feel free to skip this. For most people, I think you will be able to get a decent chunk of enjoyment out of this game before any of this cash shop pay to win stuff is even possibly implemented. And personally, I think with all of the backlash they received before the game is even out, they will be very reluctant to actually add anything that's really going to do any damage. However, if you're going to get invested in the game and then you're going to get disappointed when they inevitably add something like this, then this is actually definitely not a reason to be excited. I think the fact that this controversy has happened is basically a good thing, because now we might get a more reasonable introduction of it rather than them just going ahead blindly and adding them. Controversial, I know, but not going to be paid to win at launch, and I think I'm going to get some enjoyment at launch. So there's 7 reasons that I think you should be excited for the game. Let me know if you've got any other reasons. Let me know if you're not excited. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.